Hello my dear students. Today I have came with a new problem of GST. So let's start with the problem. The printed price of an article is rupees 40,000. The wholesaler in Gujarat buys the article from a manufacturer of Gujarat at a discount of 10% on the printed price. The wholesaler sells the article to the retailer in the Himachal Pradesh at 5% above the printed price. If the rate of GST on an article is 18%, then find, there are 4 questions. First question, we have to find out the amount inclusive tax, that means under GST, which is paid by the wholesaler for the article. The next question, the amount inclusive tax under GST paid by the retailer for the article. The amount of tax under GST paid by the wholesaler to the central government. And last question, the amount of tax under GST received by the central government. Okay. So, let's carefully read the question, first part again. Okay, here you can see that a wholesaler who is from Uttar Pradesh buys the article from a manufacturer of Gujarat and he again sells this to a retailer of Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so let's write it. The wholesaler is from Uttar Pradesh. He buys the article from a manufacturer of Gujarat and then sells it to a retailer of Himachal Pradesh. Okay. So, you can see there are 3 states involving within this chain business. Okay. So, please try to remember my first video where I have told that whenever several states are interrelated in a chain type of business, it is called interstate sales, and here GST is integrated or ICSE. Those who have not seen my first video, I will just give the link in the first comment of this video. Please go through it so you will be clear about this IGST, SGST, CGHC and all about GST theoretical part. Okay, so this is the story here. 3 states are involving in this particular job. Okay, so now the printed price of an article is given is rupees 40,000, right? Now 10%, whenever this manufacturer buys it the wholesaler buys it from the manufacturer, he gives 10% discount. Okay, so 10% discount is given by manufacturer to the wholesaler. Okay, so what is the discount for the wholesaler? Discount of manufacturer to wholesaler is 10% of rupees 40,000, that is 10 by 100 into 40,000, so 4,000 rupees. So the CP, that means cost price after discount, is 40,000 minus 4,000, that is 36,000. Okay, so the wholesaler buys that product from the manufacturer on the rupees of 36,000. Okay, but as per question, whenever wholesaler sells this particular product to retailer, he sells it on the printed price. So what is the printed price? Printed price is 40,000. Okay, and he has to give 5% GST to the wholesaler. He means here the retailer has to give 5% GST to the wholesaler as per the question. So, okay, so in that case, CP of the article which retailer gives to wholesaler is, including tax, is rupees 40,000 plus 5% of 40,000 rupees, because he sells it on the printed price and the retailer has to give 5% IGST tax, right? So the cost price for the retailer is rupees 40,000 plus 5%, that means 5 by 100 into 40,000, that is rupees 40,000 plus 2,000, that is 42,000 rupees. Okay, now let starts to answer all the 4 questions. These are the informations that are required to answer all the 4 questions. So that's why I have dealt with this. Okay, right? So the first question was the amount of inclusive tax under GST paid by the wholesaler for the article, right? So the amount of inclusive tax under GST paid by the wholesaler for the article is 18% of 36,000. Okay, why? Because the manufacturer has given him some discount which is 10%. So the cost price was 36%. On 36% he has to give GST. So 18% of 36,000, that means 18 by 100 into 36,000, that is rupees 6480 rupees. Okay, so the first answer, that the amount of inclusive tax paid by the wholesaler for the article is rupees 6,480 rupees. Right? Now the second part. What was the second question? Second part question. The amount of inclusive tax paid by the wholesaler for the article is, this is the tax paid by the wholesaler for the article. So the amount of inclusive tax, that means the price itself and the tax. The amount of inclusive tax under GST paid by the wholesaler for the article is the amount of inclusive tax under GST paid by the wholesaler for the article is rupees, cost price plus the tax was 6,480 rupees, that just we have solved, that is 42,480 rupees. The first part is complete. Now the second part. Okay. So what was the second part question? The amount inclusive of tax paid by the retailer for the article. Okay. Now remember one thing, that whenever retailer buys, he has to buy it on a printed price and he has already given it tax. Okay. So the amount of the tax under GST paid by the retailer for the article to the wholesaler is 18% of 42,000 rupees, right? So 18% of 42,000 means rupees 7,560 rupees. So inclusive tax, that means the cost price plus tax, it was the tax only. That means the amount of tax. Inclusive tax means price plus tax. So inclusive tax under GST paid by the retailer for the article is rupees 42,000 plus 7,560, like the earlier one where it was 36,000, because already in the first case the 10% discount was given by the manufacturer to the wholesaler. That's why it was so less price, 36,000. Remember the earlier part. So it is 49,560 rupees. Okay. So the second part of the question was complete. Now coming to the third question. What was the third question? Just read one again. Third question was the amount of tax under GST paid by the wholesaler to the central government. Okay. So just let me write down the things, then I will explain you. The amount of tax under GST paid by the wholesaler to the central government. Now here two things is important. First, remember one time, firstly he has already given some tax. Okay, when he buys it from the manufacturer, he has given the tax, and already he has received some tax from whom? From the retailer, because retailer also, whenever he buys that article from the wholesaler, the retailer has also given some tax. So the amount of GST paid by wholesaler to the manufacturer was 18% of 36,000. Remember that, right? What was it? 18%. We have already calculated. Still I am showing to you to understand it very clearly. It was rupees 6,480 rupees. Okay. And the amount of GST paid by retailer to wholesaler was 18% of 42,000. It was also calculated earlier. That means 18 by 100, 42,000. That was 7,560 rupees. Okay. Now the amount of So the amount of tax that paid by the wholesaler to the central government is rupees 7,560 minus rupees 6,480, because one time whenever he buys it from the manufacturer, he already paid some tax to the manufacturer, right? And whenever he sells this article to the retailer, retailer also has given him some tax. So if we subtract these two amounts, we will get the amount of rupees 1,080, which actually he will give to the central government. Okay. Now the last part. What was the last question? Last question was the amount of tax that received by central government, that is IGST, integrated GST, paid by wholesaler to the central government was 1,080, this, and the IGST paid by manufacturer was rupees 6,480, that we have already discussed. So finally the amount of tax received by the central government is of this both part, right? One time that was received from the wholesaler, another was received from the manufacturer. That was rupees 1,080 plus rupees 6,480. That means rupees 7,560. Okay. So this was all about today's problem sum. Hope you have liked it. If you have any confusion related to the sum, you can comment in the comment box. If you like this type of videos, please tick the like button and share and subscribe my channel to get more this type of problem sum videos on different chapters of different classes of different boards, ICSE, CBSE, and so on. Okay, so for today this was the thing that I discussed with you. Hope you have liked it, and we will meet again tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.